Hello and welcome to Microsoft Hates Greg. My name is Greg Deckler, and today we're going to be talking about how I predicted Gen AI 5 years ago. All right, if you don't believe me, hopefully I'll show you the proof. Well, I mean, sort of, right? Before we get to that, I just recorded another video. Sound quality was fine, so I guess Teams decided not to suck today. I don't know what was going on in that one video. Who knows? But nothing I could do about it. So, and I just record these. I hate recording things twice. I only do that if in the most extreme circumstances that I really screw something up. So, anyway, all right. So, and the other thing that speaking of Gen AI, right? Has anyone else noticed on the community forums, like it seems like there has been like a tremendous drop off in traffic on the community forums, and I'm not sure if I'm just imagining it. But like for example, like one, two, three, four, like four things in the last hour right there, and then one, two, three. Three questions. One, two, three questions. One, two, three questions. I mean, it's like, I mean, in the past with Power BI forums, I mean, you could in an hour you could fill up 3 pages, right, of questions that people are asking out there. So, I mean, is this the impact of Gen AI? Well, you know what? I have to imagine it is, right? When you can just go to ChatGPT or some other, agent like Claude or something like that and just ask it a question, you get back the answer, right? I mean, I hear this from, all over the web in terms of content creators and everything else that this is happening, but I think it's pretty obvious that it is. So, interesting stuff. All right, so back to predicting Gen AI. And where I'm going with this my 150 quick measure. It was called Magic, right? And it's a totally made up thing, right? It's a total joke. But I posted it on June 17th, 2020. So we're talking a good 3 years before ChatGPT 3 like totally blew the doors off of Gen AI and everything like that. And if you think about it, the way it worked was it was supposed to be like this was kind of poking fun at people that would ask really vague questions on the forums, right? This was meant for as a joke, like and you'd see these on the forums, right? It's like how do I create a ranking? Like, well, it's kind of hard to tell you without sharing some sample data and stuff, and stuff like that. So anyway, so the idea was that you could, ask a question here, and it says it's the magic deck solution, and you ask the question, and it comes back with an 8 ball. And it says yes, definitely, right? You can ask again, and it's just an 8 ball, the magic 8 ball. So this was actually fun to make. It is done as a joke. And there's actually an article behind it. It's not on the community forums or anymore because reasons, right? ChatGPT and Microsoft stealing books and all of that. So I moved it all. But I did I wasn't originally going to do this, but because I'm going to make this video, I decided to publish this on Medium, right? And so the explanation behind this, I go into it's a whole practical joke, right? So I like, hey, this is how it works, and I had to go out and get the data and Sandy Rivas and procure the data set and almost 5 years of data. Then built the model in Azure ML Studio, and it's using it's what was it? It was called the latent Dirichlet allocation module, right? And a boosted decision tree. Like I go into actual detail because there was a time, there was once that I was going to actually create this thing, right? And I actually created the model and everything. The problem with it was I could never get access to the data, right? The data on the community forums only goes back, it doesn't go back very far in terms that you can scrape it using like, the page equal blah, right? That kind of stuff. So it, I could only go back so far. So I just decided that, well, okay, I'll just talk about how I would do it, right? And the concept behind this was that it would use machine learning to go and scrape all the community forum postings, right? And then you could just, ask it a question and it would magically give you an answer, right? And so really, if you think about it, it's Chat GPT. It's like Chat GPT and other Gen AIs. They're an answer engine, right? You can ask it any question, and it's scraped together all this information from the internet, and it just gives you answers, right? So also stolen books, they get they scrape together that too. But yeah, so there's this. So I had this thing where it's like, oh, I was using the Q&A visual, right? And then I this is all mocked up right here, the custom model and all of that sort of stuff. But if you think about it, this is how people use Gen AI today, right? You can creating Claude or whatever, or this agentic kind of thing where, oh, I just point it to the agent, the agent that I want to answer this question, right? This trained model. So anyway, this was all way before Gen AI was, even, in the news at all, right? And so, I had created this using, you know, the old machine learning type stuff. So anyway, so yeah, it goes on one last thing, that, without further ado, and I'd mentioned that I was part of the Power BI contributors program, which is a real thing, right? And anytime you lie, right, you got to put in some enough things that are true, right? So that thing actually exists, but they would never let me near that. I mean, they're not crazy. So then at the end, right, it goes through and it says, well, it's really just it's all a lie, right? But if you think about what it's doing, it's really kind of like what Gen AI does today, is what this thing is describing. It's going out and scraping all this information and putting it all together, and then creates an answer engine, right? Where you can just ask it questions, right? I can go in here and I can ask it questions, uh, and you know, what is my name or whatever you want to say, and ask it, and there you go. And this never worked great. I think once it first loads and asks the question, it always loads at it. It was some kind of weird thing with like the randomizer in Power BI and things like that. So yeah, so anyway, 5 years ago, I predicted ChatGPT, right? So sort of. All right. Well, that's all I had for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.